we're now grouping a lot of these things into just a mystery. Oh, I don't understand why I'm so sick. We don't understand why we're getting so ill. We don't understand why we're mentally ill, mentally, emotionally unstable. If we were still in tune with the metaphysics of all of this, we understand exactly what it is that is creating all of these dysfunctions. These are all metaphysical principles and laws that we ought to know, because when we understand, they're essentially like the rules of the cosmos. You may think everything is predestined, and others may think everything is up to us, and others may think they don't know, somewhere in between. Well, I propose this idea to you. It's changed my life. The idea is that we have free will only to the degree we make our unconscious conscious. Okay, welcome back, boys and girls. Thanks for joining me today. Today I wanted to talk about Arcadia, and I wanted to continue on that theme as to why Arcadia is such a huge, massive topic that I need to dust off and resurrect. It's an incredibly large topic. In the previous video, I had spoken about how a lot of propaganda and our growing technological disconnection from the natural world has played a big role in erasing our memories, our knowing, from what I refer to as Arcadia. And to clarify again what Arcadia is, I define Arcadia, one of our sacred primary human needs, is the purposeful organizing intelligence of the cosmos. It is the integrating intelligence that weaves together the soul and the cosmos as one. My cat is going crazy right now. He has the zoomies. But it's such a huge topic. So within Arcadia is what I call the 6 core terrains of our soul life experience. I'll touch on these further in Soul Symphonics. But the 6 core terrains, another word for terrain, in case you're wondering, is ecosystems. The 6 core ecosystems that make up the bulk of our life experience as a human soul interacting with the cosmos is the metaphysical terrain, it's the emotional terrain, so in other words, ecosystems, the mental terrain / ecosystem, the social terrain / ecosystem, the physical / environmental terrain, and the biological terrain. Those are the 6 core terrains that make up the bulk of our life experience, our soul's experience of the cosmos. Arcadia is the purposeful organizing intelligence behind all of it. And keyword organizing. I know some people may think I'm just referring to God, but I want to clarify the difference. So people who would clarify or would assume that I'm saying God, I am saying Arcadia is the organizing function of God. And if God truly is that for which there is no other, the supreme being where nothing can exist outside of God, because God is the actual supreme creator and creation and beyond creation of all things, then what I'm saying Arcadia is the organizing function of God. So it's this organizing intelligence that organizes the metaphysical terrain, the emotional terrain. It has a purposeful design to the emotional terrain, the mental terrain, the social terrain. It has a purposeful design and function to the environmental / physical terrain. And it is this organizing intelligence that is trying to create order, of which I refer to as Arcadia. And our disconnection from the natural world, from the intelligence of our bodies also, is moving us further and further away from understanding and knowing this purposeful, intelligent, organizing function of all of creation. And it pretty much, why I say it integrates the soul and the cosmos as one being is because Arcadia is organizing all of it. Arcadia has a purposeful design and function for the soul and for the cosmos. And the more you dive into knowing yourself, or you dive into even exploring the cosmos, such as in metaphysics, the more you dive into the cosmos, as in cosmology and metaphysics, or ontology regarding the soul, being, existence, the more you dive into that, you realize that they actually begin to blur. And there's a point where you can't distinguish what truly separates soul and what truly separates the cosmos. But Arcadia, the more we begin to understand this purposeful, organizing intelligence of creation, the more we understand the metaphysics of all these things. And in case you're wondering what metaphysics is something that has been lost and forgotten along with our disconnection from Arcadia, along with our disconnection from nature. The further we disconnect from this, the more we forget metaphysics. And metaphysics is something that was encapsulated in sacred myths. It was encapsulated in the wisdom of shamanism, which is the most ancient spiritual practices that were consistent across the globe. And just so happened, indigenous cultures on one corner of the globe compared to indigenous cultures on the other side of the globe still had these profound spiritual experiences, wisdom, and knowledge that were consistently congruent with each other, even though they had no clue of each other's cultures across the world. So metaphysics was encased and encapsulated in all this ancient wisdom. So in general, there are two branches of metaphysics. The first branch is cosmological, in no particular order, not one above the other. They're just two branches. One branch of metaphysics is known as cosmology, where we study the nature, the function, the mysteries of the cosmos. The other branch of metaphysics is ontology. Ontology is the study of being, of our existence. In other words, it's the study of our soul. And the way I like to break metaphysics down, meta means beyond physics. So it's kind of like the physics beyond the physical world. In other words, you could say metaphysics is almost like the physics of what people would call spirit, the physics of the unseen energetic frequency and vibrational world. So metaphysics is something that has been lost, especially with the dogmatic religions that are deeply tied to political powers that have erased all the ancient wisdom and knowledge and spiritual practices that were so sacred as colonialism and industrialization began to take over like an invasive species on the planet. This is why Arcadia is such a huge topic to uncover, because when I talk about Arcadia, I'm essentially talking about metaphysics behind the natural world, the intelligence of nature, the intelligence of our bodies, the intelligence of the cosmos, the purposeful design of our soul. When I talk about Arcadia, it's this organizing intelligence that is trying to organize and create harmony within the cosmos and all of life. But we as human beings, we have developed something called free will. And this is controversial. You may have your own beliefs about free will. You may think everything is predestined, and others may think everything is up to us, and others may think they don't know, somewhere in between. Well, I propose this idea to you, and it's up to you whether you want to run with it or not. When I have taken this idea to heart and really meditated on it, it's changed my life. The idea is that we have free will only to the degree we make our unconscious conscious. So only to the degree we become aware and conscious of the way the cosmos works, the way our body works, the purposeful design of it, the purposeful design of our emotions, the purposeful design of our mind. To the degree we become aware and conscious of how it works and what allows it to thrive, what nurtures all of these aspects of us to thrive and express itself fully, is the degree we access more and more free will. So to the degree someone is completely unconscious and they're completely ruled by their subconscious complexes, addictions, automatic reactions, dysregulated triggers, just running autonomously by everything that comes at them in nature or in life, everything that hits them, they're just reacting. They go into this survival reflex, they go into this survival pattern, they get attached to this addiction, and it's all unconscious. They don't understand exactly what the addiction is serving. They don't understand the metaphysics, the way spirit is actually functioning and trying to organize. So to the degree we're unconscious, which has a lot to do with suppressed emotions, unprocessed trauma, unprocessed pain, there is so much of ourselves, of our lives, of our behavior, people who are unconscious of their behavior, unconscious of the way they are relating, unconscious of what they're putting into their body, unconscious of their impact on the environment and the environment's impact on them, unconscious to the way their liver needs affection and love, unconscious to the way they may be destroying their gut, unconscious to the way the relationships they choose are creating so much chronic mental emotional stress that prevents us from fully flowering and being nurtured to the point we experience deep latent spiritual gifts and purposes we never knew we had. Like Carl Jung says, and I say this all the time, until we make the unconscious conscious, it'll direct our lives and we'll call it fate. The whole thing about me resurrecting Arcadia is that I have to make so much of what has become unconscious conscious. And with that comes a lot of repressed emotions, past emotional hurt, insecure wounds, wounds of insecurity, wounds of shame, wounds of grief. There is just so much. And so when it comes to the metaphysical realm, what I really wanted to show you or explain and illustrate about Arcadia is, aside from this huge topic that I'm literally trying to just get you to scratch the surface of, is this idea of metaphysics, which is already another huge topic. Metaphysics, people who were metaphysicians were the great Greek philosophers like Plotinus, Aristotle, Plato. These were metaphysicians, or you could say they understood the metaphysical realm a lot clearer, and a lot of that has been lost. The same with the Hermetic principles, the ancient Hermetic principles, which are, there's 7 laws, and you can find it in the Kybalion. But those are the Hermetic metaphysical principles such as above, so below, the law of vibration, the law of correspondence, the law of frequency, the law of polarity. These are all metaphysical principles and laws that we ought to know, because when we understand, they're essentially like the rules of the cosmos, and they're not man-made. They are just observed consistently within the cosmos and within being. So within metaphysics, like I was saying, there's the branch of cosmology, which is a study of the cosmos, and there's the branch of ontology, which is the study of being, existence, ourselves, or AKA the soul. Within metaphysics, I had broken it down even further, because there's just so much that has been lost and so much can be grouped into metaphysics, which still falls under this need of Arcadia that we deeply have lost touch with. We need to understand, we need to know, we need to become intimate with Arcadia, with this organizing intelligence of the cosmos and our soul. In metaphysics, I've broken it down to what I call the pentad of metaphysics. So while we have ontology and we have cosmology, and how I said when you start studying one, it begins to blur and overlap into the other. Same with this side to this side. The more you study cosmology, the more it begins to blur and overlap into the soul, because both are one. But within metaphysics, I broke it down to the pentad of metaphysics, and it's basically 5 pillars of metaphysics. And these are the things that I've been trying to resurrect and revive that has been lost. They're still present in spiritual traditions, but they've been lost in our current dogmatic, political, ethnocentric, religious wars. The pentad of metaphysics are these 5 pillars. It's laws and principles, rhythms and cycles, archetypes and architecture, myths and mystery, and function and forces. So within metaphysics, there's the study of function, in other words, design, purpose, the forces such as our creative power, our life force, forces of nature. We have myths and mystery. So sacred myths are a big part of metaphysics that have been lost. Myths have also been slandered by our current scientific dogma to be associated with lies. Whereas before, myths were sacred stories that encapsulated deep metaphysical truths regarding the pentad of metaphysics. Myths encapsulated truths about laws and principles, rhythms and cycles, archetypes and architecture. The mystery, they encapsulated deep wisdom about function and forces of nature, forces of the cosmos. But that has all been slandered by our current profit-driven science. Then we go to archetypes and architecture. Archetypes is another branch of metaphysics, and it also goes into psychology. So regarding these pentad of metaphysics, these are underlying unseen forces, rules, functions, cycles that affect all the terrains. They affect our emotional terrain, they affect our mental terrain, they affect social terrain, our physical environmental terrain, our biological terrain. They affect it all. The metaphysics affect all of creation, and it's a big part of Arcadia that we have lost. A lot of what we should know that has been covered in metaphysics over thousands of years that are being erased, we're now grouping a lot of these things into just a mystery. Oh, I don't understand why I'm so sick. We don't understand why we're getting so ill. We don't understand why we're mentally ill, mentally, emotionally unstable. If we we're still in tune with the metaphysics of all of this, we understand exactly what it is that is creating all of these dysfunctions. So metaphysics across all of these archetypes, they're used in all stories, all sacred stories. They're used in psychology to describe different parts of ourselves. Architecture is understanding basically different aspects of how the unseen world is set up for us to relate and interact with. Rhythms and cycles. That's another thing we've completely lost touch with because of our capitalistic, industrialized world. We're required to work full time. There's no ebb and flow with the seasons. It doesn't matter if it's winter, it doesn't matter if it's summer, it doesn't matter if it's fall. You get a few days off for vacation, but none of that is in alignment with the metaphysical laws of Arcadia. None of that is in alignment. And you're wondering why people are burnt out. You're wondering why people are so fed up and stressed out and angry, sad, depressed. It's because none of that, the industrialized world, the colonialized world, is in alignment with Arcadia. It's not in alignment with the rhythms and cycles of the cosmos, the rhythms and cycles of our own body needing to rest, our own body needing to regenerate, our own bodies needing play. There's just so much that's not in alignment with rhythms and cycles. And then we go to laws and principles. For one, I'm going to be covering a lot about syntropy, entropy. These are some laws and principles, the laws of polarity, laws of duality, the laws of correspondence. We are not honoring all of this ancient wisdom that has been erased. There's just so much ancient wisdom that when we understand it, it will help us make what was once unconscious conscious. And by that token, will no longer be reverting to these autonomous reflexes of survival and scarcity and stress. We would be able to instead make newly informed decisions, hopefully through the act of responding rather than reacting. The issue with this is making the unconscious conscious is we're going to have to bring up a lot of fear, a lot of our old pain, even generational pain, which is literally passed through our gene line. And it's studied in epigenetics. You can read the book. It didn't begin with you, or it didn't start with you. There is a lot of the pain of our ancestors, especially through colonialism, genocide, cultural erasure, slavery, and all the wars, all of that has caused so much pain that also demonized the purposeful design of our emotions. It demonized so many things that were natural functions of Arcadia, that all of that, to become conscious of what is unconscious, we are going to have to come face to face with our own personal fears, our own personal neurotic anxieties, the trauma of being born and surviving in a maladaptive, modern, industrialized world, which is very hostile for the most part, in general, for most people. We're going to have to come face to face with all of that. And that's what makes Arcadia such a huge topic to uncover. With that being said, I hope you do a little more of your own research. I hope it makes you curious. I hope it makes you realize your own fears that were programmed into you by the world. Like, to be honest, I know a lot of people personally who don't see the benefit of spending more time in nature. They don't understand what it does to their nervous system. They don't understand what it does to their immune system. They don't understand the benefits it has on the microbiome. They don't understand the benefits it has on their mental, emotional stability. There's a lot. And it goes back to the food, understanding like the importance of organic, which also has been corrupted as an industry label. But once upon a time, everything was organic. Before all these poisons were sprayed, all these shortcuts were implemented in profit-driven farming practices that disregarded the health of our people, the health of the land, the health of the animals, the health of our environment. When we begin to truly understand Arcadia, it's going to challenge a lot of the programs that the modern maladaptive world has convinced you to play that game, to be a consumer, to play that scarcity game, to work, to work yourself dead, to work yourself so you're so stressed out, to live in a world that is primarily based on survival, not thrival. There's a lot that happens in order for me to resurrect Arcadia. So again, this is all going to be covered in my book, The Principle of Soul Symphonics. I'm also working on video courses. I hope this helps you in some way, shape, or form, but this is a very important sacred need. When you truly grasp the magnitude of this cosmic, purposeful, organizing intelligence, when you truly grasp it, it will be one of the biggest keys that make you free. So stay tuned for my book and my courses. I'll catch you on the next video.